Hi everybody. Well, this is the third time I've tried to record this. Let's hope that this is more successful than the last two times, but only the best for you guys. Anyway, I'm glad you guys have made it this far. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to perform a water rights search on the Idaho Department of Water Resources website. This search engine is a little bit clunky, though I think the department has done a good job with the tools they have at their disposal and also the amount of information that they have, because there really is a lot of information that goes into this particular database. So when you're using it, just keep that in mind. We're going to keep this kind of simple, and I'll show you some basics on how this works. Okay, so follow the link from Canvas to get to the Water Resources, the Idaho Department of Water Resources webpage. And right on the front page, at least for now, and this does change periodically, they've done some updates to try to make it more mobile friendly. Kudos to them. But for now, there's a link right here for water rights search. You're going to go ahead and click on that. And you're going to have to agree to their terms of use, which go ahead and take a look at that before you agree to it. Okay, so this is kind of the main front dialog of the water rights search engine. And you can search by one or more of these search items on the left-hand side. Now, when you want to do that, you're just going to have to click on the little radio button here to engage that. So let me just show you an example of how that would work. So let's search by name, and I'm going to search for a specific name, and I'm going to go by organization. And I think with these, it's often better to do a search which is more broad. So in this case, I want to search for water rights, which let's say, what would be a good example here? Well, let's just do the College of Southern Idaho. Okay, so I'm going to do a search for the College of Southern Idaho. So I'm just going to type in college because I'm not exactly sure how it is found in the database. So under the organization now, I'm going to click college. And this is the key here, is once you've populated that portion of the dialog, you need to click on the Save Search Parameter. Okay, so I'm going to click it here. Now I could go through and I could populate other search items on here, and then once I'm done, I'm going to start the search down here, or I can start the search from over here on the right. Just for consistency's sake, I'm going to go ahead and start the search over here. Okay, so that search has produced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 separate and unique water rights held by the College of Southern Idaho or the College of Southern Idaho Foundation. So the owner is shown over here in this really handy table. Okay, there's going to be a lot of information on here which may be a little bit confusing if you've never looked at water rights in the state. Some of this is pretty straightforward, and I'm going to kind of skip around as I go through this and choose I think the more relevant things. All water rights contain some basic information, and that's going to include things like the owner of the water right, the water use found on that particular water right, the source of water that's relevant to the right, and then you're going to have the diversion rate, so how much, not how much, but how fast the water can come through their diversion, as well as a priority date. And hopefully by now you have looked at and read the Water Rights, Idaho Water Rights, a primer brochure, to make sure you understand what a priority date is. That's the whole first in time, first in right date that gets stamped when the water right is filed. We're not going to worry so much about the basis and the status at this point, or the application number. The basin has to do with the regulatory basin which the water right is found in. So these are actually found in two different ones. Then we have some other options over here as far as details, which I'll show you that here in just a minute. Okay, so here with these, I can also do some other things. I can export results. It looks like the map, at least as of now, is a little bit clunky, but it does work. So if I click on details, let's see. Let's choose one that's relevant to us. Okay, so here's two rights that the college has for heating. This one's from 1978. This one from 1979. One's for slightly more flow than the other, and these are both unique water rights. So I can just go ahead and click on details here, and here I get the information, the more specific information about that particular water right. So some things which should be of note here are things such as the owner, the priority date, the source of water, in this case is groundwater, which would come from a well. The use in this case is heating. The season of use is another element of the water right. So we have a date from which it can be used to which it can be used, along with the diversion rate. So that's the rate at which it can be pumped. And then also in this case, the full amount of water that could be used in a year. Now, the diversion rate here is given in cubic feet per second. The volume here is given in acre feet annually. So AFA is acre feet annually. So 1 acre foot is 385,250 gallons, if I'm correct. So you can do a rough calculation to figure out how many gallons that is. And here we have the location of points of diversion. This is where you're allowed to take the water from. So here we're allowed to take groundwater from the northwest of the northeast of the southwest of Section 4 of Township 10 South, Range 17 East in Twin Falls County. And that uses what we call the Public Land Survey System, which you may want to familiarize yourself if you get more into water rights. But this gives me basically the legal description of where we are allowed to take the water. In this case, we're allowed to take it from not just one point of diversion, but 2 points of diversion. And you can see here they are in separate quarters of that particular township range and section. Okay, so this is where we take the water, and this is the place of use. This is where we are allowed to use the water. Again, this is given in our standard Public Land Survey System notation with township range, section, and tract. So we're allowed to use that in several tracts. If this particular water right is good for irrigation, this place of use description will also give the number of acres that we are allowed to irrigate within that particular tract. And then the other thing which I think should never be neglected are the conditions of approval for that water right. These are things which are kind of stamped on, which allows the Department of Water Resources to execute the water right and to do proper delivery along with any other stipulations that might seem fit for that. And there's some other information down here which if you get into water rights more in depth, you'll see kind of why that is. Okay, so I can close that now. And if I go into the same water right and I hit more options, okay, I can look at the documents associated with that water right. This can be really interesting because this gives the full documented history of that water right. So in this case, I can click on that and I can look at information dating all the way back to the original, what we call the back file, which is kind of the historic look from beginning to end, which would include old maps that were included when the water rights were filed. Here's some old pictures that kind of went along with it. All the original documentation for the licensing kind of gets included in this. So, and this is kind of interesting that fish propagation was included in this particular water right. This is actually an amendment for the permit. So there's a lot of information. This is probably several hundred pages of information that you may or may not be interested in. But that is always there. And then the last thing which I wanted to show you was under the details, under the more options here. And it looks like I'm in Chrome, so we'll see if it works. But if I click on map, if everything works correctly as it should generate a map of both the place of use and the point of diversion. And this is very useful, especially if I'm a little bit rusty or I'm unaware of how the whole public land survey systems. As long as I can look at the map, and of course I'm getting a failure over here. It's not working right now. If I can look at a map and I can interpret an aerial image, that can be really useful. I think if you use something other than Chrome, that can work. It says an occasion causes the map to periodically fail. So it's just the Chrome browser which seems to be causing that. So if you use that in something like Firefox or Internet Explorer or any of your other browsers, it will probably work better. So just try it out and see how that works. Okay, so that's kind of the rough breakdown on how that works. You can also search by things such as the location, and we'd have to be specific down to the public land survey system. I can search also by the source right here. So if I want to search for every water right on the Snake River, I can do that. I can search by water use, and that's a drop-down menu, so all these things can be searched. Some of these are kind of interesting to note. Dates, water right types, status is not so important here, so you can kind of focus on these particular areas up here, though I think for most of your purposes you're going to want to search by name, though please keep in mind that the name is not always updated as frequently as it should, so a previous owner may be included on that. Just because the current landowner is not listed as the water right owner does not mean he is not, because all water rights, unless withheld in a deed, are pertinent to the ground. So it just needs to be reflected in what they call an ownership change. Okay, I think I've given you plenty to chew on this. So you're going to have an assignment which you'll need to do a little bit of water right research and take a look and have an opportunity to use this tool more. So if you have questions, please let me know, and thanks for watching.